The first Bioshock was released in 2007 for Xbox 360 and Windows, and later released in 2008 for PlayStation 3, winning multiple Game Awards. It has since been re-released for PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. It was a fantastical concept of an underwater city built upon objectivism, as a promise to become a utopia. This was set after World War II and the beginning of the Cold War, when much of the world's population was in fear of coming under nuclear attack. So the appeal of escaping from this impending doom makes sense. But let's have Andrew Ryan describe it for himself.
I am Andrew Ryan, and I'm here to ask you a question. Is a man not entitled to the sweat of his brow? No, says the man in Washington, it belongs to the poor. No, says the man in the Vatican, it belongs to God. No, says the man in Moscow, it belongs to everyone. I rejected those answers. Instead, I chose something different. I chose the impossible. I chose Rapture. Where the artist would not fear the censor, where the scientist would not be bound by petty morality, where the great would not be constrained by the small. And with the sweat of your brow, Rapture can become your city as well.
This was doomed to failure for many reasons. One is that for objectivism to have any chance to work would require a free market economy, and Rapture was an isolated economy, inviting monopolies, which is corporatism and not a free market. Free markets require competition to function properly. Rapture's construction needed a large labor force, all of which were sworn to secrecy and required to stay in Rapture after construction finished. On the other hand, for maintenance to function, a much smaller number of people was required, a number which dwindled even lower after the Big Daddies were developed. Despite the promise that Rapture would be their city, Ryan owned everything. No one owned the residence or place of business, and even the public toilets required payment. Having a large segment of the population desperate for income and forced to live in cramped slums, this invited exploitation by the unscrupulous. Since with so many available for work, wages could be set as low as the employer wanted, if they paid anything at all. This was also an environment where business owners could engage in predatory practices to eliminate the competition. And while Frank Fontaine may be the most extreme example, he was far from alone. With a large segment of the population starving, desperate, and unable to leave to find work, Rapture was a powder keg waiting to go off. Of course, there were factors that sped up Rapture's self-destruction. It took less than a decade for everything to go to hell. Plasmids didn't start the problems, but did serve to accelerate them. Still, it wasn't instantaneous. Of course, there was first civil unrest and terrorism. All of this prompted by certain individuals. This led to a civil war, and like all wars, the non-participants were the first victims. There were many monsters in Rapture, most made that way, but some were always monsters. This 4-part series will be focusing on the 3 main monsters. I will be sourcing this series from the first 2 Bioshock games and the book Bioshock Rapture by John Sturley. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the next one.